Shalom, shalom. Kal halal, Yahbashim Yahushai, Bahashim Kakadash, double honestly, apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and salutations to the Akim pushing this word in truth and sincerity to seal the elect of Israel. Yeah, Israel. All 12 tribes. Right, this is a quick article. It's called, this is from Up Day News. This is here. Putin warns Ukraine that Russia has barely started its action. Vladimir Putin warned... Right, let me click on that properly. Let me get the article properly. Right, it says here, Vladimir Putin has warned Kiev that it should quickly accept Moscow's terms or brace for the worst, adding ominously that Russia has barely started its action in Ukraine. That's what I told the brethren, that Russia's, they ain't even brought in the thermobaric bombs yet. Speaking at a meeting with leaders of the Kremlin-controlled parliament, the Russian president accused Western allies of fueling the hostility, charging that the West wants to fight us until the last Ukrainian. It's a tragedy for the Ukrainian people, but it looks like it's heading in that direction. Saying always when you're doing something, everybody should know that largely speaking, we haven't even yet started anything in earnest, Putin said in a menacing note. He declared that Russia remains ready to sit down for talks to end the fighting, adding that those who refuse to do so should know that the longer it lasts, the more difficult it will be for them to make a deal with us. Where we are hearing that they want to defeat us on the battlefield, Putin said. Let them try. Earlier in the conflict, the Kremlin demanded that Kiev acknowledge Russian sovereignty over the Crimea Peninsula it annexed from Ukraine in 2014 and recognize the independence of Moscow-backed separatist region in eastern Ukraine. They didn't annex it. They had elections, and they decided to join the motherland of Russia. Okay, all that annexing talk. Yeah, that's that. They're all them lies what they perpetuate on the news and all that, demonizing Putin. Oh, he's worse than Hitler and all that garbage. When the crackers are the worst. The American Edomite drop. Shock and awe. You know? Coming out with all the theatre of war. All these terminologies, yeah? To them, it's just a play killing people. Because why? He's a bloody man. He can't go to bed without knowing that he's actually killed someone, that he shed blood. It says here, Moscow also said it expected Ukraine to bow to the existing situation on the ground, a reference to other land gains it has made since the Russian troops rolled into Ukraine on February 24th. It says that after failing to capture Kiev and other big cities in Ukraine, northeast early in the campaign, the Russian military shifted its focus to Ukraine's eastern industrial heartland of Donbass, where Russian-backed separatists have fought Ukrainian troops in 2014. That's what it's really about. Russia went in there to protect the Russians because they was bombing them in Donbass and Luhansk. And it says here, earlier this week, the Russian military claimed control of Luhansk province, one of the two regions that make up Donbass. This is where the Russians are. These are the Russians in the Ukrainian side, and it says, is preparing to press its offensive into the second one, the Donbass region. In the early stages of the conflict, Russia won control of the southern Kherson region and part of the Zaporizhzhia I don't know how to pronounce these Russian things. It says Moscow is expecting to try to eventually cut Ukraine off from its Black Sea coast all the way to the Romanian border. If that succeeded, it would deal a crushing blow to the Ukrainian economy, and also create a corridor to Moldova's separatist region of Transnistria that hosts a Russian military base. Mr. Putin reaffirmed his long-held claim that the West using the conflict in Ukraine to try to isolate and weaken Russia. They simply don't need such a country as Russia, Mr. Putin said. This is why they have used terrorism, separatism, and internal destructive forces in our country. He charged that the Western sanctions against Russia have failed to achieve their goal of sowing division and strife in our society and demoralizing our people. Yep, because last time I checked, the Russian ruble was going up. And it says there, the course of history is unstoppable. And a course of history is unstoppable. Why? Because the Lord said in Ezekiel 38 that he's going to put hooks. I'm going to read it anyway. And he said he's going to make Russia reject their gold and silver, like the payoff. It says here. Look, just like Macron went there, innit, to try and smooth him off. And he said, look, too late for that. It says here, of course, the course of history is unstoppable, and attempts by the collective West to enforce its version of the global order are doomed to fail, Mr. Putin said. Yeah, so let's get Ezekiel 38th chapter. Let's round it off. Right, this is Ezekiel 38, and I'll start from 3, and it says, and say, thus saith the Lord God, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Yeah, Meshech and Tubal, Russia, Moscow, and Putin. That's what he's talking about. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. Turn them back to the old ways, the USSR. And I will bring thee forth all thine army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Why was that? Let's go to Isaiah 9 and 5. Let's see how the ancient way of war was. This is Isaiah 9 and 5, and it says, for every battle of the warrior is with confused noise, and garments rolled in blood, but this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. See what I mean? So the missiles are going to get launched, and Russia is going to devour America and his allies, and Russia's going to have his allies, because Russian army, and I'm talking about standing army, Russia's standing army and China's standing army is twice the America and NATO. But it's only that America spends the most money on his military machines, I should say. But what is their army full of? Fractional, man. Their army is full of all different nations, full of transgenders and all these reprobates. Yeah? The Russian army is Russians. The Chinese army is Chinese. The Iranian army is Iranians. The Ethiopian army is Ethiopians, and so forth and so on. So I'm going to say double honours to the apostles and elders of great millstone who taught us this truth. Yeah, very diligent. You know what I mean? Salutations, yeah, to the Akim, you know, putting in this work, and usually war ababa bol, man. Kwam Yasharallah, yeah, rise Israel, and a war ababa bol, destruction to Babylon. That's all we're waiting for. Yeah, this is the main thing. Our brothers, us brothers, are prophesying the downfall of the Edomite kingdom. Because after the Edomite kingdom, just like it says in Ezra 6 and 7, Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. Shalom.